Are we good?
Yeah,
we're going?
Yeah, we're good. We're going.
Awesome.
We're on.
Sweet. Hey, so this is Sav, like the wine.
Like the wine.
Like the wine. And we're starting a new podcast.
Yes.
For shits and giggles, because we like it.
Yeah. And it's yet to be named. However, by the time you're watching and listening to this, it will have been named.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Or we'll just call it the Chit Chat with Sav and Chris, or Chris and Sav, or both.
Or both, whatever works. So we have basically.
Chris as well,
oh yeah.
Yeah, you forgot to introduce me.
Sorry.
Anyways, yeah. See, this is the kind of stuff that's going to be happening on this podcast. We decided, we met the other day and decided, why not? We'll just talk.
We met once and we decided that we would start a podcast together.
Decided we'd talk shit for 45 minutes and maybe you want to listen.
And hopefully it will be useful
and
helpful.
Yeah.
So basically the premise of this podcast is to share our experiences and talk about things that are just going on in general, right? Anything, health, mindset, business, life, burnout, health, mental, physical.
And when we say health, it's mental, physical, life, focus, all of it pretty much when it comes to health, because if your health in all aspects is not going well, then it affects everything else that's going around you, relationships, business, yourself, family.
Yeah, definitely domino effect. And maybe that's a good place to start. It's like with our experience with you, how did we get to this domino? Like what started all of this for you?
So for me, what started this is, okay, so if we go back and if we go back to the beginning for me, I grew up in the States, in California. Left there at 14 with my parents, just turned 14. We drove across country and then we got onto a sailboat. There was a couple year lead up to that we were going to do it. But we got onto a sailboat in the Caribbean, decked it all out, and then not knowing what the fuck we were doing, really. We saw my parents doing some sailing courses and owning a Hobie Cat when I was a kid, when I was born.
Why not?
Why not? I mean, my dad had his pilot's license, so he knew how to navigate. That's the basis of it. We had a lot of fun experiences that first season in the Caribbean. And then we did Caribbean through Panama and then through South Pacific. And then my mom got Ben scuba diving in Tonga. And then that's how I ended up here in New Zealand. And she got area back here to Devonport, which is the only, at the time at least, the only hyperbaric chamber in the South Pacific. So they take you back to pressure and then slowly bring you back out. And so she fell in love with New Zealand, and then we ended up, about 4 or 5 months later, ended up sailing down here in New Zealand. So, and then have been here since. And then I met my now wife, who is not you. Who's at work?
Who has a job? It's a Wednesday.
Who has an actual job besides just talking shit all the time. She and I met at a barbecue at her place, and then I ended up here, and then I ended up not knowing really what I wanted to do at the time. Was doing bits and bobs, piddling in university, not really sure what I wanted to do, and then ended up joining the police. And so when I was in the police, I didn't know what I know now. Let's put it that way. And so this is why I train people physically and mentally to get into the police, so that they know what I know now. Hindsight is key. I remember at police college the first week, they go, you need to make sure you take care of yourself, keep your friends that you have outside of the police, and recenter, keep that real life outside the police, because you'll lose it otherwise. I was like, yeah, sweet, I'll be fine. I think it was like 6 months. I mean, I don't have many friends here anyways. At the time, I had like 2 friends, I think, here in New Zealand. One had moved to Tauranga, one moved up north. So I didn't really have many friends here in New Zealand anyways. So I met guys that I went to college with and met, but naturally you end up doing that anyways as a cop, because people know what you're going through. You can relate to something so big, because just like from work, we'll talk about what you do here soon, but you end up clicking with those people because that's what you're there 40 hours a week. And so I didn't take care of myself from the beginning. I didn't keep looking after myself. I didn't even really know what that looked like. All I had known up until then was have fun and go diving when you want to and go sailing and enjoy yourself. And I wasn't doing any of that. And so, I lost a lot of myself then Then I had a female partner of mine on the job. I'm a very connected, emotional guy, and I thought I needed to get rid of that to be a good cop.
Interesting.
It's just that persona.
Where do you think that came from?
Movies and TV shows, and wanting to be that badass, like SWAT kind of tough thing, and that image in my head, tough equals being staunch and not lovey-dovey, gushy, cry when there's an emotional movie.
Tough is good.
yeah, tough is not emotional.
Yeah.
Is what was kind of in my head. Yeah, so then I had a female partner of mine get assaulted, and for her it was just the last straw. It had nothing to do with the fact that like those getting assaulted was like had to do with it, but I took it to heart because I was going to arrest the guy, and I took it as it was my fault that she got assaulted and then left, and then the guy got nothing, and then just that's where my focus went. So yeah, so went down that track, and then kind of started to burn out then because I just lost all confidence in the system because I wasn't focused on why I actually joined, which was to actually give back to people and make a difference and actually take the time with people. And actually, you know, be there for people when they're in their, you know, most traumatic times. Mine was just turned all about wanting to lock people up and have fun and the adrenaline rush, and which only lasts up this long.
So you
no time
completely romanticized.
Oh, completely, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I went into the police with the wrong why. Like we said, we're going to talk about the why today. With the wrong why initially. Mine was I wanted to help people, but really I wanted the adrenaline rush. I wanted to drive fast. I wanted to play with cool toys, and I wanted to
be outside the law.
Yeah.
You're above it. You are the law.
I am the you're the law.
Yeah.
But you know, while still helping people, so there is still that trend of helping people because you're there to help people. But also, you know, want the adrenaline rush. You know, legally be able to get that adrenaline rush every single day. And
thrill.
The thrill. And so yeah, so we go on. Then I ended up going to a bunch of advising jobs, which drained me even more because I wasn't refilling that tank. It was already at high alertness, like most cops would be, where you know you're looking at everybody, you're looking around, who's a threat. Yeah, literally such high alert that you're draining your tank even off duty instead of shutting down, instead of shutting off, I should say. And so yeah, so continued that. Did those advising jobs, went to some pretty emotional ones, and by then I was already emotionally retracting, and so I just emotionally retracted pretty much completely, and then just started, I'd go off of my wife. She was the punching bag, not physically but emotionally, just because I was dealing with my own internal stuff and wasn't focused on why I was really there, and wasn't taking care of myself. And then, so yeah, so went down that track, then went to counseling actually, and it was okay. It was good. I thought I dealt with everything, really just kind of shoved it off to a corner. Found a little bit more of a focus, but it was a bit of wanting to run away still. And then I went to did my protection. So which was fun. That shifted my focus, got my focus on things of, you know, I got a focus of, you know, I'm here to protect somebody, which I'm really good at. And so that was really good. But then the alertness went to the next level because I started watching everybody. And again, didn't know how to cope with it, didn't know how to take care of myself, didn't know what to do on my days off to actually look after myself, which is all about doing those things that recharge you. You know, for me now, it's going motorcycle riding. You know, yes, there's the gym and that does recharge you, but actually going and challenging myself on things and meeting up with friends and talking about things that aren't police related. And so, yeah, got real high alertness and started burnout again. Started to fight with my wife, almost cheated on her once, which was kind of my turning point. And I talk about it a lot to my clients, to people, my Instagram, everybody. If you followed me have been following me for ages, you would have heard me say it at some point. So almost cheated on her, and I went, wow, this is not me. My parents cheated on each other, and I was like, I'll never do that. So it didn't happen, but almost did. The thoughts crossed my mind. And then went to counseling again, and that's when the counselor was like, Chris, you burned out. I was like, what the fuck is burnout? And first thing that went through my head was, you hate cops, you want me to leave, and screw you.
On the defense.
On the defense, instantly. And so, because that's burnout. Is you're all constantly on the defense. It's not my fault. It's not my problem. It's everybody else's.
Sure.
Yeah, so then went through that, and then I ended up doing with the counselor's help, I actually started going, okay, I need to shift this, and I want to shift this. So I told her that I thought that's the first thing that came to my head. And she gave me some really good tips. And so we'll go into a little bit of that. And it's focusing on, these aren't her words, but this is what I've developed, is focusing on the positives in every negative situation. Out of everything that's going on, there's always a positive. Look at the darkest times, or you go when it's pitch pouring rain and there's black clouds everywhere, lightning everywhere. You can either look at all the darkness around, or you can look at the light.
You could look at the darkness, or you could go, hey, my garden's getting watered.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You can always find a positive in the silver linings, the positive, whatever you want to call it. And so, so she kind of referred to it as a white wolf and a dark wolf. The dark wolf is the one that's telling you that you're not good, that everybody's out to get you, that the counselor wants me to leave the police because she hates cops. And you have the white wolf, and the white wolf is normally a lot quieter. And it normally just sits there in the background and lets you come to it. It doesn't, unless you're focused on it and you're using it all the time, it doesn't really fight. The dark one always does. Look at around the world. The negativity always has more power. It's always the loudest.
We're naturally wired though for threats, and we're naturally wired for trouble. It's just survival instinct.
Our brains, Tony Robbins talks about it a lot. Our brains are 2 million years old. They're wired for back then. They're not wired for all the stuff that's around us now. They're wired to be in fear and be able to. Back then it was saber-toothed tigers, and that's what we were worried about. Now and there were very few things back there, but they were bigger. Whereas now it's literally everywhere.
I ran out of sun-dried tomatoes in my fridge. What am I going to eat?
I might run out of toilet paper.
Right. But the advancements in the last 50 to 100 years is nothing compared to the 2000s. It's like we have advanced so much that there's no wonder why our brains haven't caught up.
Yeah, our brains haven't caught up. Especially, my wife and I talk about it all the time. Our grandparents would have, they would have seen so much in the last 80 years compared to our great-grandparents in technology advancements and everything. It's like, wow. But if we go back to I did that. I did a motorcycle trip and refound my purpose and my why, refound myself. So I forced myself, it was a big decision, but I needed to go recharge myself. So I hopped on a motorcycle in the US, bought one over there, and camped for 2 months around the US on my own. Middle of freaking nowhere.
Fairly
extreme, but I needed, and even the counselor was like, you need something drastic to recharge real fast.
Shake the snow globe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I went over and did that, and my thing when I went there, and this is where it came into your why. You always need a why for whatever you're doing. So you stay focused and you stay on that purpose. And my why of going over and doing that was to interact with people, recharge myself, and get into nature. And so literally everywhere I went, I remember the first time I left Reading, my hometown. And at the time I saw just darkness everywhere. It was, there's so many homeless, there's so much drug problem, there's no light here, this place is horrible. I even messaged my wife and was like, I don't ever want to move back here. This place is fucking horrible. Left, and everything had this dark haze to it. If I look back, left, and literally the first place that I went to was an Indian reservation. I literally went and I took a wrong turn. I thought that I looked at the map and I went, oh yeah, I can go that way. Ended up on dirt road on a cruiser motorcycle. So not a dirt bike, on a cruiser motorcycle. I ended up on a dirt road. I hit Nevada border and it turned to dirt. So went along, and then next thing it was like, okay, hit this big washout. The whole road had washed out. And I was like, okay, I might have to go back, and I'm like probably third of a tank left of gas. I'm like, I might have to go back and backtrack like 50 miles, which
things are going great.
Things are going great on the first day. But also I forgot to mention, I actually purposely took a bit of a dirt road and got high centered on the bike as well at one point. I was like, okay, this is all just a challenge. I'm doing off-roading. I know how to get out of this. So get onto this dirt road to see this washout. I walk around. I'm like, okay, how the hell am I going to get around this? I get my phone out that I had at the time, and I go, hey, there's like a little old school dirt road maybe here. So I go back. Maybe. I go back and I find it, and I can actually see there's nothing from the actual road, but then I can see the dirt road. So I was like, what's the worst that could happen? So I barrel on up over it and get myself around the washout. And I was like, See, you can always find a silver lining in
Or a
everything.
dirt road.
Or a dirt road.
Find your dirt road.
And so, yeah, so literally that first place, and then literally I went to the Indian reservation to camp that night, and I forced myself to tell the lady behind the counter what had happened. And that was my start. And then the next one was at a gas station on a guy on another bike. And I ended up going and camping with that guy not going to the campsite I was going to, which turned out to be closed, going to some hot pools and camping with that guy. And then met 2 other people who we ended up drinking till like 2 a.m. in the hot pools. And like, yeah, so it just forced me to start to get out, and I just started telling my story. That's literally what I started doing. And what it did is it just released it all. And that was all just by following my why. My why was to make myself better. So yeah, that's kind of my backstory.
And then you came back.
20 minutes. Then I came back.
Came back and you got involved with helping others.
Yeah, and then I came back and I was like, well, while I was over there, I was like, okay, cool. What am I gonna do? I'm not sure if I want to go back to the police right now. I don't know if I'm in a good enough place. I came back and I actually went backwards. So I came back and it was like, oh my God, all this pressure, all this stress of I gotta find a job, I gotta start making money because I've just spent a bunch and all this kind of stuff. And then I was like, okay, how am I gonna do this? And I want to help others not go through what I did. So that's where I started, and that's when while I was away, I started coming up with names and that's when I came up with Knocking Demon Fitness. Well, Knocking Demon, and then it turned into fitness because I'm a huge fitness fanatic, as we've talked about in the past. And then and then it's just that's evolved into just pretty much focusing on helping people get into the police, and now it's turning into more just helping people prevent or come through burnout on and up. Because everybody's doing it, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now with coronavirus and borders getting shut down, all that. People are going to start going through burnout even more. / it's not even going to do with work. It's going to be just stress around everything that's going on, and finances and anxiety and stress. So yeah, so that's what I do. That's what I enjoy, and that's my now why is to help prevent people from going through and experiencing what I did. And being uplifted and powerful every day.
I love that. And I think that's why we connected so quickly. Yeah. Because so on the same ground with like having gone through tumultuous times and like awful experiences and just shit that you wouldn't want anyone else to go through. And you're like, hey, if I can help you not go through that, let me. Like, this is going to bring me so much joy, and it's going to help you avoid all of the crap that we had to experience from getting from point A to point B. Life doesn't have to be as hard as we make it.
No, if I can give somebody an experience so that they can jump 10 years, like if they can go from where I was 10 years ago to where I am now without having to go through that 10 years, bonus. The other thing that it helps is it helps me. To be on the significant, selfish side, it helps me as well, because what it does is it brings it to my surface. When I coach people and I'm talking with people and working them through situations, it brings up things in myself as well. And I go, fuck, I actually need to start doing this more as well because this is going on. And so that's the same thing with any coach. You learn from teaching. That's the best way to actually learn, is to teach it.
Well, we say that we teach what we need the most as well.
Very
so,
true.
I mean, it's no surprise we ended up teaching burnout prevention and, I mean, fitness at a basic level, but not that you need fitness, like, hey, you need some fitness, but like burnout prevention and like teaching that hindsight, because, hey, like, this is what I need to remember on a daily basis. Because I love what you said about how you came back from your American trip and you went backwards. Because people think that like healing and progress and like it's all linear, and it's so not linear.
Yesterday, the last few days I've been backwards.
Right.
And then I caught myself, and I caught myself. I was like, okay, what do I need to do? I'm always working to figure out a solution to things. And I used to be just always the problems, and then we'd be like, oh, you can't find any solutions. And that was when I was in that burnout stage. Whereas once you have those solutions, if you're solution focused, which is what coming out of burnout you do always, because you're like, I don't want to go backwards. It brings up in my head all the time watching Dwayne Johnson do a talk to the LA Lakers one time, and he goes, I always think of myself against this wall. And he goes, my back's always against that wall. The only way is forward. No matter where I am, the way it's always forward. because the
like that.
wall is where he was in the beginning when he had $7. He'd been fired from Canadian Football Federation.
Had to imagine now.
Had to go back home. Oh yeah, but yeah, I always remember that. I'm like, backs against the wall. Yeah, cool. The only way is forward.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do to go forward? So like the last few days, going through stress and stuff around, everything that's going on. My wife works in that travel event industry, which is the first thing that's gone. So, there's that stress of all the what ifs. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, what ifs. I can't live in what ifs. What can we do for solutions? Okay, cool. Let's start putting this stuff in place. And then because I was thinking about so much, I was draining my tank again and I wasn't feeling it. And yesterday I was like, no, I'm out of here. And I went from 100K motorcycle ride just to recharge.
Nothing will ruin your life more than should have, could have, would have.
Yep.
Nothing will fuck you up more than thinking, oh, but if. Yeah. What if maybe it's like,
but the best way to drive through that, as we've talked about off camera and off this audio, is having that why. If you have that why, it will drive you through that every single time. Me going every single day, I'm like, okay, cool. Why do I need to post up something on Instagram? It's so that I can maybe influence somebody else to shift their mindset, shift what they're doing. So anyway, that's my story. Enough about me. Let's go about you.
I'm Kiwi born and bred, fairly basic. Yachting hasn't really, well, actually, no, I did work on yachts for a bit, but my whole backstory is pretty much, people I meet say, you've lived a lot of life for 26. So I've been kind of active my whole life. Obviously, fitness is like the way I've really come into people's lives on like a real basic level. But yeah, my whole journey with focusing on my health started probably back when I actually discovered I had an autoimmune disease. I have psoriasis. Wow. And my parents growing up were all about what can we do? Steroids, creams, diets, this. And what's really funny is the only things that have helped me are some salt water and happiness. When I'm stressed and it's winter and I'm cold and I haven't been in the ocean, flares up. Otherwise it's really manageable. And I think that kind of sparks something in me to be hey, we can heal ourselves. We have a lot of control over our bodies and the way that our lives are lived. And it starts with you and recognizing that one, you have that responsibility, but also you have that opportunity.
I was on that real quick on the taking care of yourself. I was listening to Tony Robbins course tape, and he was talking about research that a university did, and they took, I think it was 10 or 100, can't remember which one it was, but they took quite a few people that were clinically depressed.
10 or 100 people.
I think it was maybe 100 people. They took, it was 100 people, because he talks about 30 of them going off medication, but they were on medication, they were clinically depressed. So they're diagnosed with depression and clinically depressed. And what they had them do for 30 days, they had them for an hour each day stand in front of a mirror and just smile.
For an hour?
Yep. In the beginning, people couldn't even do it for a few minutes. But by the end, people were actually doing it. All of them came off of medication. Yes, all of them came off the medication. I got to go double check it, but all of them came off the medication, and every single one of them was no longer clinically depressed. They had traits of it because that's always going to be there, but they were all 10 times happier.
Right, because there's so many triggers, and the body stores so much trauma and stress and just experience, and you can power positions, you sit up, you pull back your shoulders,
your physiology,
strengthen out you open up your lungs, you open up your breath, tilt your head up. Suddenly you're actually in a different mood because physiologically you've changed, and so mentally everything shifts. And there's such little things like that we can just do on a daily basis.
Now, just real quick, I'm not saying go do this and not stop taking your depression medication.
No, of course. Disclaimer,
disclaimer, but
listen
it can,
to your doctor.
Yeah, but it can help improve your situation.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt. It's just basics. Oh, look at the little puppies.
So you carry on with your story.
Well, it's just basics. Yeah. So I discovered that I discovered I had all of this I guess like power. And that doesn't mean that my journey's been linear at all. I've been through depression myself. I've had bouts of suicidal thoughts, and I have certainly struggled with an eating disorder and had breakups and, things that we go through. But coming out the other side, I become more grateful. I feel like things can send you one way or the other. And instead of spiraling down, I went, this isn't my life. Like, this isn't me. So what does my life look like? And then have just constantly been on a non-linear but fairly forward path towards, the life that I want to live. And through doing that, I think naturally you tend to put out energy that attracts people who want the same, and they go, hey, what are you doing? What are you, so I kind of fell into personal training and then health coaching and talking about, like how our diet affects our lives, how our movement affects our lives, and how connection. So I work with 3 pillars and all my coaching, and that's nutrition, movement, connection. And that's connection with the self, and it's connection with others, and it's connection with anything else that you may believe in. And the idea is that you have to be healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You can't keep up a table with one leg that's shorter than the other 3. All legs have to be strong, and you can't just weasel in a little napkin and go, hey, it's squeaking a bit. Like, no, you got to sort that shit out.
How many times have you done that at a cafe, and then you go back to that same cafe and you sit at the same table and the table's fucking wobbly again?
Right. How many times do we do that in our lives?
Exactly.
We're like, hey, there's something off, and it's like, wow, hey, what bucket needs filling? And quite often, they all need a little topping up. Sometimes one of them gets really drained, and sometimes, sometimes they're all pretty good, and then it lasts for like a day. But it's like, it's awareness.
Sometimes a week.
Totally. And it's being conscious. It's being conscious that, like, hey, you have the power to totally design your life and the way you feel. And you can't control any of this, but you can control this and this.
Yep.
You can control how you respond to things. And I think that is, you said something earlier about kind of like knowing your triggers. And it's like so important to recognize and have self-awareness around when things are kind of like when shit's hitting the fan, but then also what you can do to combat it. And then on like another note is recognizing kind of when you need help and like not being afraid to ask for it. Because yes, we have all this power.
Too.
So bad.
We all are bad at it, but
So bad.
yeah, guys are really, really bad at it, and Kiwis are even worse.
There's like levels. There's like females, males, Kiwis.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's like we have all this power, and we have all of this control. But it doesn't hurt to reach out and ever ask for help.
And also realize that even if you don't need help, still reaching out. Because you can always learn more.
For social
as Tony Robbins says, as you can tell, I'm a huge advocate of Tony Robbins just because he changed my life a couple years ago, going to one of his events. And he says, if you're not growing, you're dying, which is dead true. If we're not learning and we're not growing, then we are dying because we have to stimulate our brain. Otherwise, we feel like we're empty.
Yeah.
But also, you touched on a thing about, about looking after yourself and the triggers in that. It's also putting in preventative things. So like myself, which I used to never do. Yes, Harley. The things that I used to never do, like now I do it, and it's all from learning from other people's experiences and knowledge and trying different things that people have said or done. Having a coach that can actually go, hey, Chris, and the coach isn't there to tell you what you're doing is wrong. They're there to look at what you're doing and go, what about trying this? Or what about this?
Just like in sports.
Yeah, it's just like sports.
We do our practice and we do our games and we talk about what happens in between the practice and the games.
And the coach is normally not somebody who is a superstar in the game. He normally was not somebody who was like the best at the game, but he can see.
Has a perspective.
He has a perspective, and he's looking from the outside in, going, "Okay, cool. How can we improve?" He knows the game. He knows what's going on, but he might not have been the best player or something. But he can see what can be improved the best.
Mm.
But yeah, so it's taking those, like for me now, every morning I wake up and I tell myself 1 to 3 things that I'm grateful for. 1 to 3 things that I accomplished the day before. And I've just recently started implementing 1 to 3 things that I want to, goals that I have for the day. And then I get up and do something physical.
That's your morning routine?
That's my morning routine.
Yeah. So at what point do you touch your phone?
Not until after I've done all the 3 things. So I know normally I'll pick it up, well, unless I'm turning my alarm off, but I don't look at it. But I don't pick it up until, pretty much, where is it? And half the time hit the snooze button. But yeah, so I'll tell myself, and it literally only takes a couple minutes. And then I'll get up and I'll do my best to not look at my phone until like I'm up and I'm on my way to the gym maybe. And normally it's because I'm putting Spotify or something like that on. But I do my best to not even look at Facebook, Instagram, any of that stuff. I don't even watch the news anymore. I haven't for years because of just all the negativity. But especially right now, I'm finding I really have to stay off of. Facebook is the worst one because of all the stuff around coronavirus going on. And all the people. Yeah, it's crazy times. But yeah, so that's literally, I do my best to probably not look into stuff on my phone for at least a half hour after getting up.
Easier said than done for a lot of people, because it's
a habit.
It's a habit.
It's taken me a while to not do it, and even even sometimes, like just a couple days ago, especially when you start to get into that dark, you're just like, I want something to lift me up, and literally you go into it, and that is not what you're gonna get. It's normally, Dean Graziosi, which is who I learned some of this stuff from. He's like, it's like Russian roulette when you pick up your phone and you look at it. You don't know if it's going to be a positive thing that you're going to get, and somebody goes, "Hey, I want to work with you," or "Hey, this accomplishment
your
happened."
Bills due,
or it's your bills due, or it's I want to cancel, or it's and you're just like, so just don't even take the chance.
It is Russian roulette, isn't it? Actually,
it is.
You think you're going to be inspired and get like a dopamine hit, and sometimes it's like that text wasn't nice. That email could have come at a later date. That could have. But it's so crazy that we have this little weapon in our pockets, in our hands at all times. All times. It's weird to go for a walk or go to the gym without your phone. Things that we never would have gone. Things we never would have taken a little device with us for,
Well, it's funny. I saw a post the other day on Instagram, which actually resonated with me quite well. It was like. Back in the day, Arnold didn't rest looking at his phone on Instagram.
No, he did a few things, but that was not one of them.
Definitely not one of them.
No.
He didn't rest in between his sets looking at his phone on Instagram.
No.
But it's like, I remember back before your music was on your phone. We had iPods. We didn't take our phones with us. They stayed in the car. They stayed at home. They stayed in our gym bag.
Oh, the days, hey? I used to love that little swivel.
Yeah, the little swirl on the iPod.
Yeah.
I found my old iPod Touch, the Touch one, like when that first came out. I found that it's sitting in my
blow your mind.
I was like, wow, it's dead flat, but I don't even know what's on it.
Oh, you couldn't get a charger for it now, could you?
Yeah, you couldn't find a cable for it.
Far out. Times have just changed, and I think particularly in this time, there's weird feelings. There's weird feelings around, and it's really difficult to not pick up and kind of carry that collective energy at the moment because of the coronavirus. There's so much anxiety and a lot of stress. And then on the other hand, you've got people that are just super underreacting, or maybe ignorant, maybe by choice, who just don't really seem to have any interest in it. And so it's I feel like such a weird time.
It is very weird. My personal thing on it is that, I have my own opinions about it, and I had different opinions, and now as it's progressed, I'm like, okay, cool, there's different things. But my feeling, again, it comes back to, if any of you follow me on Instagram, I'm all about the why. So everybody has their why of why they're doing whatever they're doing, whether it be because they don't have enough knowledge, whether it be that they have too much knowledge, whether it be that
there's such a thing,
whether it be that they have too much not good knowledge, whatever it is, I look at, and this might get a bit controversial for some people, but I look at, say, Donald Trump. And so many people hate him, but yet so many people like him. But at the same time, and he does a lot of dumb shit, but also, if I look at it from a 30,000 foot perspective, he didn't go into that office solely just to make money or, piss people off. He went in there because he had in his why, whatever the fuck realm that is, was to make the country great again. In the way that he knows and the way that he does things.
Sure, his conviction is that.
Yeah, his conviction is that.
Yeah.
Now the way that he's doing it, how he's doing it, what he's doing,
Sure.
might not agree with more people than not, but at the same time, he only knows what he knows and how to do his things. And if you look at his history, he's doing exactly like he's done for his entire life. He's just doing it in the country. And you look at Jacinda, same thing. Hers is a complete opposite way of doing things, but still the same. It's still similar. Why? She wants to make New Zealand great.
Yeah, help the world.
Help the world.
Yeah.
If you look at that, that's, and that is a huge why for a lot of people. And theirs will be different. I've never talked to them or don't know, and a lot of shit that you don't know.
Catching up for dinner with old mate,
no, don't hardly. So, but if you look at people's why, we all have a why. You look at, I was watching an interview with Dwayne Johnson, as you can tell, I like him as well. I'm wearing his shirt. Oprah was interviewing him, and she actually asked why he does what he does. I'm like, fuck, there we go. Somebody else is asking a lot, and his is because he wants to bring entertainment and joy to the world. And that's, if you look at his career, that's what he's always done. That's what he still does.
Yeah. He's pretty successful then.
Yeah, and this is what, and so, but the reason I brought this up is that you can do it in any aspect of your life. If you have the right why, or you have a passionate enough why, and you're focused on it, say in your relationship, you'll put that other person first. You'll look after that person. Yes, you're putting yourself first, so you can then be there for that person, but that person will be second above you. But at the same time, you're giving 100% to that person because your why is to look at, to be in that relationship, to, have a loved one. If you're, with work, whatever your work or your why is. Mine is, I don't want anybody else to experience what I did. I want them to have joy every day. So yeah, what's your why?
My why is pretty much exactly the same as yours. So people don't have to go through what I've gone through. So I can give shortcuts, right?
You can give I like that
so
one.
you can shortcut your way to a more fulfilled, abundant life, a healthier life. You don't have to question. I think there's so much bullshit information out there, and people really forget the basics. It's like, hey, there's no real shortcut or magic pill, but like, what if I told you the magic was information you already knew or had access to, and you just weren't using it properly? Like, let me show you the easiest way to do something.
The fastest roadmap.
And the most enjoyable. The most enjoyable.
Why fail a million times when you can just fail once?
Well,
I mean, sometimes people need to fail a million times, but you'll fail a million times in a different aspect.
Yeah.
And failure is good. Failure is not a failure, it's learning.
Yeah. So Jordan Peterson talks about making a bad plan. And that's to say, don't make a shit plan to help you get from where you are to where you want to go, but make a plan that is good enough. And as you follow that plan and you take action on it, you'll figure out exactly where the faults lie, exactly what's wrong with it. And then you can innovate, and then you can create a better plan, and then you can find the faults in that, and then you can make a better plan. But if you don't just go all in, if you're not just gunning for it and you just go, hey, that's the ball we're riding, you never join in. You're dying, Yeah. You never
you're not growing, anywhere. You're dying.
Right. So have a bad plan. Yeah. It's not about not failing or failing. It's about it's actually about being open to and finding faults in everything that you do, so that things can be optimized.
I saw Gary Vee posted something, and I know lots of people have said it, but fail forward.
Yeah. Always.
Fail forward. Set yourself up to fail forward.
Yeah, and also release judgment. Like, so if you find somewhere in your fitness journey, you're like, fuck, I got sick for a week and I had to take a week off. It's like, Yeah, but that's not the way it works. Like your 6 months of good work isn't ruined by 1 week of being in bed.
You go on holiday for 2 weeks and you come back and you're like, oh, I lost everything that I had. No, you lost everything because you're focused on the fact that you lost everything, not that you actually did lose everything.
Yeah, and also like reality is you lost jack.
Just let them
You
out.
You gained a week of rest and holiday.
Yeah, exactly. You recharge yourself, and you know it's interesting. I always tell people, Bentley, how? I always tell people that your body's always telling you something. If you're getting sick, it's normally because your body's telling you that you need something, that you need to do something, that maybe you're pushing too hard. There's some sort of aspect in your life that you need to improve on.
Yeah, absolutely. The body tells us so much more than we give it credit for. Yeah. There's a lot to be said about listening to your gut, listening to just what your body's telling you, whether that is like emotionally or physically. Quite often, like if we push through an injury because we're, our ego's in the way and we're just not willing to admit that maybe we can't shoulder press that amount of weight, or maybe we can't squat that amount of weight right now.
Even just on that day.
Yeah.
Just the other day I was at the gym, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go for squats, and I'm building my squats back up, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do 125 today for my 3 to 4 reps. I got to about 115. I was like, it's not gonna be today.
Today is not that day.
Today is not that day. No. Next week it'll be.
Yeah. And this is where also it's so important to recognize that 1, your days aren't going to look the same, but 2, there's a lot going on that you might not be aware of. So like women, for example, we have a monthly cycle, and at some point during that month, you're going to be stronger. And at some point during that month, you're going to feel more fatigue. You're going to feel weaker.
Yep.
Because your body is changing.
And then you add the stress of everything that's going on in the world around you, and your cortisol levels are through the roof. And,
sure.
Yep.
Sure. What's your number one cortisol treatment? How do you bring down your stress?
How do I bring down my stress? Mine's shifting my focus to the positive things around the world. So the good things that are happening around. But my biggest one is breathing.
Same.
So I do a thing. I've always done it. Didn't really. Again, all the stuff that I do now, I used to do, just not in the drastic ways that I do it now. But breathing is taking big, deep breaths. And this is why I used to hate running, and I actually enjoy it now because it forces me to breathe. So when people go, I can't breathe when I'm running, I was like, focus on your breathing then. Focus on slowing your breathing down.
And how amazing is it that our body breathes without us even having to think about it?
Yeah. But imagine if you think about actually, while we've been talking, we've actually been breathing less than we probably should have been.
Oh yeah.
But it's taking, it's called box breathing. And it's taking a 3 to 5 second in, pause for 3 to 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds out, pause for 3 to 5. And what it does is it just resets your breathing and it slows your heart rate down. I heard Unbeatable Minds, I can't remember what his name, Mark Devine. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he talks about it a lot. And it's actually, if you get really good at it when you're not under stress, then when you're under stress, your body automatically goes to it. And that's where like Navy SEALs and Special Forces and even in the police, when you're doing your firearms training, that they tell you to slow your breathing down. And it's all about slowing that heart rate down, which in turn slows the stress levels down, which in turn calms your whole body down. And what you can actually find, and you hear about those like situations where Special Forces guys and that are like, oh, everything seemed to slow down. Like I knew what the bad guy was going to do before he did it. And that's what that is, because you're calm while hell is going on around you.
Yeah.
And that's where that fight or flight kind of comes in as well, is when you're under fight, your heart rate's up is all through that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can calm that down, you can actually make more calculated decisions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right, basic pranayama, like basic breathing. And the good thing about that is you can do it anywhere, anytime. Like You could be driving, you could be in bed, you wake up and you're like, oh, I just feel a little off.
Yeah. Yep.
Just, you don't have to have any fancy equipment. You just gotta have a pair of lungs.
Yep.
And like
you feel like you're starting to, like, your heart rate's starting to go, you're starting to get stressed out, almost like that panic attack's coming on. If you focus on your breathing, you'll probably find that you're holding your breath.
Yes. And that happens a lot in exercise, right? People hold onto their breath and it's like, just breathe. Keep that chest open up your airways. We naturally want to like sink down.
Especially doing any kind of HIIT training or anything like that. I mean, powerlifting and heavy lifting is a little bit different. You want to hold that breath, but then you catch your breath back quickly. Like, I train people to get into police. They've got to run 2.4 Ks and for females, 12 minutes or less, 12, 15 or less. And then they got to go do a jump and a push-up and push-ups like pretty much straight afterwards. I'm always like, start doing this now. Because then once you're done with then you can instantly kick it in. And if I'm at any test days where a client's testing, first thing I said to him before I even say I might say well done, and then it's like, okay, slow your breathing down, box breathing, slow it down, slowly in, slowly out. Like, I can't do, like, yes you can, slow it down, and they recover twice as fast. Because most people go, and you're not actually getting any oxygen in.
No, you just, no, you're just pumping like basically the mouth, but like nothing's actually filling up.
No, you just CO2 in and out.
I dive a lot, so scuba diving is like a big hobby of mine. And as part of your open water PADI test, you have to remove your mask underwater and then pop it back on and clear it.
Yeah.
And that might sound really basic, but when you've got one, one sense taken away from you, naturally, when you are blind, you just go to hold your breath. But remembering that, hey, I can close my eyes, I'm underwater, this is foreign, it's very unnatural.
I still have oxygen.
But I can still breathe. Oh, that's funny. I can do this. It's like whatever else is going on up here, doesn't matter because I've got what I need. And it's like, okay, focus on what I need. Now what do I need to do?
Yep.
Now what is my next task?
Slow it down.
My ex-partner is a parachute jump instructor, and he talks about, if you have to pull the reserve or if something goes wrong, you take 3 seconds. You just go.
Slow your breathing down.
Okay, check. Yeah, cool, pull. Done. And it's like, that saves your life, literally, in like the small moments and the big moments. When you slow things down and you can think things through, you're good.
Yeah, I've done a lot of diving, and I've dove with friends, and I've done like crazy diving. Sailing around the world, we had dive compressor on board, 6 sets.
Well, sure, if your mom got the bins, I mean.
We were diving. By the time I was 17, I had probably 500 dives under my belt. Like, right. So I don't. Diving now, it's better be pretty spectacular or I'm going for food. And like I go off, like my brother-in-law and I will hit the bottom and we go different directions. Like we go completely against all PADI rules. Don't do any of this stuff. Yeah, don't do any of this stuff. But the reason I'm getting into that is because, like you said, when you do your PADI thing, you take your mask off. I've actually had my mask get caught on a rock and had it come off. And I had to find it. And the best way it's either panic or breathe.
Well, that's it, right? What's your alternative?
At worst case, I go to the fucking surface.
Yeah, but like in a day-to-day situation, what's your alternative? You sit in an anxious state. You stay panicked. You freak out. You lose your shit. Or you slow down. You calm down, and you come from a place of strength. Logic, rationale, and you get more done.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like living in that grounded state. And so I feel like so many people don't prioritize really like deep breaths, but also just moments of stillness. So my whole thing is like movement is magic, stillness is medicine.
Yeah.
So
everybody feels like, and I've asked this a few times to, my audience. And it's like, what are you doing to take care of yourself today? And most everybody, like I asked a bunch of police officers, and most everybody says the gym. And yes, the gym is good, but it's that state of movement, that state of adrenaline. You're pumping that heart faster. What are you doing to calm? Like yesterday, I did my motorcycle ride. Yes, that's state of movement, state of active. Then I got out to Piha and I went to the waterfall that I normally go to, which is literally right off the road. And I got there, and normally I'll go for a swim. I didn't take my swim gear with me because I didn't want to take a backpack. But I was like, okay. And at first, I wasn't going to actually go there. I was like, oh, I'll just turn around and go back up and go back. And I was like, no, let's go here. And I got there and I sat down and I was like, okay, cool. And I literally just laid down on the ground, put my head on a rock, and just relaxed and took big, deep breaths and just calmed myself and listened to the waterfall. And that's what I did that for about 15, 20 minutes and just laid there. Almost felt like I fell asleep, but I know I didn't. It was almost in that meditation, the trance kind of, and at first my mind was going all these different things that's been going on, and I was like, no, I need to actually calm my mind right now, and that's what's going on is I'm not calming my mind, and it's like, okay, cool, let's calm my mind, and and it made a huge difference.
It's that balance of yin and yang. It's that doing, and then it's that being. It's like, you can do. What happens is when you get out of balance and you're doing all the time and you're wearing busy like it's a badge. Yeah, you're gonna freak out more. And when you're just being, you're not gonna get anything done. You're gonna be procrastinating, laziness. It's just, it's the opposite. And you need those two. You need the thrill. You need to feel alive. You need, when do we feel most alive? When there's a sense of danger. When there's a sense of like, I'm knowing. Yeah.
Adrenaline's rushing.
Right.
But you can't
live there.
Not being a cop, you live there all the time.
Right.
Whether you feel like you are or not, just driving around a patrol car, you're there. Because there's that threat of somebody's going to want to harm you of some kind. If you're any kind of good cop, you actually have that subconsciously. It's grained into you at college. People are told to change their name on Facebook, and all that. It's constant that state of fear. If you're not balancing that, like you said, that yin and yang, you're not balancing that, you burn out. Some faster than others. And that's all resilience. That's just all from experience on stuff. But you have to have that calming state to be able to actually then be that at that level. And for some people, those levels are higher than other people. Some people, they burn out instantly. Some people, it takes them years to burn out. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's the same thing. Take lawyers, for example. They work more than anybody I know, probably. I've got lawyers in the family, and you have to take that balance, that calming time.
But getting people to recognize that is kind of it took me how long to recognize that I don't have to be doing, busy isn't a badge I actually want to wear. It's not something I'm proud of. Busy is kind of a bullshit word. Like productive is nice.
Yeah.
Efficient is nice. Busy is kind of like somewhere in the middle where you're
like, running around getting nothing done.
Exactly. But I, as an A-type personality, tend to be like, I'm accomplishing, I'm worthy, I'm good enough. If I'm successful, I'm a good person. Yeah. Like I deserve my place in the world. And no, your worth is intrinsic. Like you are inherently a worthy person who deserves to put in effort for your dream life, but also relax and kind of like let it happen as you trust yourself to put the work in, because you will burn out if you don't take that time to reflect and you don't give it space to breathe, right?
Yeah.
Like if you give the work you're putting in space to breathe, like you don't grow a garden overnight. You plant seeds and you water it, and day by day the plant grows. But you don't water it 24/7. The sprinkler's not like this.
It's so funny. I'm the kind of person, this is why I get burned out so quickly as well. And I recognize that, and you saying that is just like literally slap me in the face with wet fish. I am a person that wants to go, okay, cool, I'm starting a business. I want to be fucking 7-figure earner tomorrow. And so I'm like, gotta get it done, And then the next thing, a few weeks later, I'm like, fuck this, I'm done with it.
Right, because how shit do you feel as a person when you don't do the thing that you set out to do?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, but realistically, it just wasn't achievable. Yeah. It's not that it's not achievable. It's just realistically that time frame.
Yeah.
In that time frame, it's like, hey.
I can be a 7-figure earner. It's just going to take me a few years. And going, okay, cool. 5 years, sweet, that's where I want to be. And this is how you get there.
Right. Right. Right.
And then you're gonna have hiccups like we talked about your plan. You're gonna have hiccups that don't have
The soil might have been like you may
Yeah.
have forgotten to put fertilizer in at the start. and
Or
it's
you
like,
have
oh,
a recession hit right in the middle of it.
drought. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so many factors that come into
Yeah.
plans, like holistically looking at things and recognizing, again, going right back to the beginning, things aren't linear.
No.
You're going to be over here and then you're going to be like, oh, where's my dirt road?
Yeah.
Okay, I hope
Oh.
that takes me to the right place. And and just finding like lessons in all of it, make a bad plan and refine it and get better. But ideally, like, be aware during the process and let people in, let people help you and reach out, and don't be so arrogant to go, hey, I can do this all on my own. Like this is so under control. And then it might be under control for a month. It could be under control for 10 years. But eventually things catch up.
So we'll wrap it up. One last question I want to finish on. I like to finish on this one is, what is one piece of advice you give for the audience? Your number one piece of advice.
Cool. And like what regard?
Just the first thing that comes to your head of the number one piece of advice.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Like set an alarm and just take 30 seconds to like deep breathe.
You have an Apple Watch, it'll do it for you.
Just breathe. Yeah, I know. I always get a bit pissed when it's like, you seem stressed. You should take a deep breath. I'm like, yeah, okay. Do I have 6 minutes?
We all have 6 minutes.
We've all got 6 minutes.
All right, so breathe.
Breathe. First thing that comes to my head. Eat your plants, drink your water, breathe, and love your people.
Yeah. Mine would be watch what you focus on. Watch what you focus on. Because if you're focusing on negativity around you all the time, that's all you're going to see. Yeah. So and I think the reason it pops into my head right now is because lately I haven't been doing it. But again, Tony Robbins was literally got an email from his automatic thing the other day, and it was about the times right now. And he's like, be a guard at the gate of your mind.
I like that.
Be a guard at the gate of your mind. Because if you are letting shit in, you're gonna feel like shit. Just like when you eat, you let shit in, you're gonna feel like shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, be a guard at the gate of your mind. As Tony said, and I think Jim Rowan, his mentor from back when he first started, told him that, and I was like, yeah, that's real important, because especially with everything that's going on right now with the coronavirus and everybody, being on edge about their jobs and events and family and gatherings and everything. It's really important to be a guard. Watch what you're focused on.
We can't control this.
No.
We control this.
Yeah, you can only control yourself and what's in your own head.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be my thing. Watch what you focus on.
Sage wisdom, Chris. Yeah. Maybe that's what we call this.
Sage wisdom.
Fortune cookies.
Yeah, fortune cookies.
Or something like it. So this is gonna be a weekly thing, hey?
It's gonna be a weekly thing. We're gonna meet weekly, record this, and yet to be announced when it's actually gonna launch. But I think we came up with like Mondays. So it'll be Mondays. Mondays the episode will launch. And yeah, hopefully if we get quarantined, at least we got technology.
Yeah, we're practicing social distancing in the worst way possible. Come over to my apartment and we'll sit and chat. Yeah. And we'll breathe really deeply in each other's company. In a small confined space.
But so it'll be a weekly thing. We'll make it happen, and yeah, love your comments, love your feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And let us know if there's any topics that you'd like to be covered in any health mindset realm. Yeah. Any topics along those lines. So yeah. Thanks for being here with me.
Thanks for coming over. Till next time, we will talk to you soon. And remember, take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones.
Peace.
Peace out.